Hello everyone and welcome back to Season 10 of EXA Division 1. We are here for the third round of the season and we are here at the Circuit of the Americas in Texas for the US Grand Prix for a tantalising title fight that continues into its early phases of the season. The circuit stands at 3.4 miles with 20 turns, 11 to the left and 9 to the right, with 2 DRS zones completing the undulating circuit, which was moulded by the infamous Herman Dilker. Debuting in 2012, it has only missed 1 year on the calendar, and that was 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The circuit has seen its fair share of battles over the years for championships as championship rivals collide like Hamilton and Rosberg during the Civil War era, as well as the infamous 2021 season where we saw Hamilton and Verstappen go toe to toe, finishing the race less than 2 seconds separated between them. I'm your commentator Jamie Jackson, and I'll be taking you through tonight's action as we enter the 18-minute qualifying session very shortly. However, we need to go through last week's session. That's the qualifying one. So Campbell Adams got pole position. I don't know why that one's come up and not my other one. But Campbell Adams took pole position, and we'll go and to take the championship leader. So we'll go for that first. Lucas Rapasso took the championship lead with a 7-point gap over Diego Zorzo. Larry Tolka take the final podium spot ahead of Tony Helter in fourth, while the Williams of Tamas Kokane and Jensen Rosen, Gabriel Contini, Valentino Labella, Liam Stevens, Luca and Lucas Shear round out the top 10. But with the constructor standing a bit like this, the Red Bull team lead the way by 2 points over Mercedes. 2 points further back is the Haas team, while Williams and McLaren and Alpine, RB, Aston Martin all have scored more than 20 points and are with 20 points of each other. Sauber and Ferrari both scoring 11 points, meaning all 10 teams are within 30 points after the first 2 rounds. But we are heading in qualifying now, and we should see these drivers go toe to toe once more. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be back. We are back, and we should be getting going very soon. I've just got to check to make sure I haven't been pinged for anything. I have not. That is perfect. We can crack on with this one. Make sure this is running as everyone loads into the session. As if we just go quickly get everything all sorted. I think everyone is okay. Things aren't quite the same there, right? So we've got people in the session. We've got a whole 20 driver field as we get ourselves going. It should be. We should be getting going very shortly as everyone comes peeling out the pit lane, and yeah, Division 1 is starting to heat up with the drivers beginning to settle in now as a couple races and be looking to try and claim a victory early on in the season, but also starting to get used to each other's pace and ability levels, who they'll be racing throughout this season, and we'll see what will be happening from here on out. I believe these are not quite correct, so we're going to go back to this and we're going to see, as to be fair, most of it is correct except for one. Okay, so we're going to continue on now with a couple of drivers out on track already. I'm just making sure that everything is running okay on the system. We're going to go down to Tony Hietala in the Haas, currently sitting themselves on as first driver out on track ahead of the Williams of Tamas Kokane. I'm going to get a couple of these names wrong, so I do apologise. We're going to continue on though and see as these drivers get themselves ready and prepared for the flying lap to come. Just to make sure this is all okay. Yeah, that's fine. Let's get this back onto the stream, and there we go. So there we go. We're going to see Tony Helter go and set the first flying run as we go down towards the first corner, starting the flying lap. Thus the Haas where does the Haas put their time as they try and get themselves settled into a session. Well, the circuit is very difficult, every corner is not very much not the same here. Every single part of this S tightens as you get through each and every part of it. It's tighter and tighter, soon you'll have to be dropping down those gears before going up the hill and then down through sector 2. Starting off strongly though does the Haas, has to navigate the Red Bull, who goes off the circuit to make sure they are out the way, and then down towards the left-hander before we get onto the back straight. DRS is fairly far down after the acceleration point before you open DRS and then use up your battery down towards the final braking point of sector 2. As you go into there, lock up there, and invalidation there for Tony, and a very unlucky drop. We saw him turn in early. He locked up the brakes as well, so he turned in early, tried to back out of it, and just cut the corner. That's very unfortunate from the Haas driver. Tamas is Tamas is the next driver on the circuit who's trying to complete a lap. The Williams driver currently going through through the Turkey Stone 8 style right-hander, the quadruple apex it would be in Turkey. Oh, gets a massive snap over on the penultimate corner, heading into the final corner. A bit of a snap there on the exit as well. Goes to 30.3, but certainly we'll look to improve that as the session goes on. Who is next across the line? It won't be him. It will be Pascal, who is going to go through the penultimate corner now. Much better line in comparison to the current only driver to set a lap time, and goes up towards the line. A 30.3, 300s off. Clearly had some had been a bit slower throughout the rest of the lap. However, Valentina Labella 30.4 as well. As the times start coming in, we're going to see Larry Tolke going to take pole position, provisional pole position with a 30.0, 3 tenths clear of the Williams and the chasing pack, as we now go through towards as everyone starts to try and put some solid laps in. Voltec Steg in the McLaren trying to put in a very good better lap time here. We're going to continue on through the rest of the lap as we go through that. Voltec goes to the time 30.7. Goes to the back of the drivers who completed proper lap times. As we now go through for the next driver across the line, it will be the Sauber of, I think, Kendon no, it will be Lucas Bessina. It goes P7 with 31.0. We're going to stay on with Kendon Lutt in the other machine Sauber as we go through sector 3. As the Sauber just tries to weave their way through some very difficult braking points. You're turning in and braking, easy to lock up in those situations, but it is very difficult to maintain a single lap pace. You're going to go wide down in validation. Very easy to do so in when you're going through such a high-low corner, high speed nonetheless, and unfortunately the Sauber invalidates right at the last gasp. We will now switch back to, we're going to switch to Liam Stevens, who isn't on a lap, currently invalidated. Next will be, I believe, Jensen, who has also invalidated. Gabor will be Gabor Santos going to be the next driver to set a lap time, I believe, unless he's going around a very slow pace as well. He, unfortunately, I think he is recharging the battery, maybe not feeling confident in these early phases with a lap on the board of 42.5, not entirely competitive, but also very slow on a lap that he probably could have gone far, probably been looking to do a push lap on. As he comes into the pit lane, decides he doesn't want any part of that. We're going to go to Pafan Zelta, who is currently invalidated as well. A lot of drivers have invalidated early on. I don't think there is anyone who's actually on a lap at this point, unless one of the RBs are. We're going to go to, nope, and then yeah, it'll be Alexi Cavero going to go through and will be going to complete his lap and invalidates at the penultimate corner. Yet again, another driver who has been caught out by that penultimate corner there. We will see as we go on as he goes on to go and pass the line, doesn't come into the pit lane as quickly. The drivers now who have already completed the lap were already coming out to complete a second attempt at a flying lap, and this is crucial for the drivers who have bottom half of the field who haven't even set a lap time yet, because now they haven't got a banker on the ball. These other drivers do, and it's an opportunity for them to try and use that delta to kind of work out where the track improvement is, as well as work out where they can find themselves in improvement. The drivers with an invalidation or a lap time not even being set do not have that advantage. We will see as we go through to the next driver who will cross the line to start a lap will be Pasquale Ranelli in the Ferrari. The Scuderia looks to try and notch themselves a victory for the first time this season. Same place Charles Leclerc done it 2024, took a dominant victory here in COTA last year, but can Pasquale Ranelli repeat that feat tonight? We're going to see, as he looks to be fairly solid on pace, only less than 3 tenths away from the Alpine currently sitting on pole, as the top 6 are all within that 3/10 margin. Only a couple hundredths further back is Valentino Labella in the Haas. So that is a very, very close field as the Ferrari goes into the first corner, and he's trying to just try and get themselves a better lap, but they come across a little bit of traffic there, and that's a very, very unfortunate circumstance to be held up in, because you do not know how those drivers are going to react as an invalidation there in just under a tenth above his delta time, and that is crucial for the Ferrari, because now they can, at least early on, they can recharge the battery and go again for a second lap on these tyres, or second attempt on these tyres if anything. But they do have to worry about traffic if that becomes an issue, because there's a whole load of cars more that will potentially get in the way if there is any errors from the pack behind, the pack who are supposed to be starting their laps now. Diego Zoro is currently on an out lap. We're going to go to Valentino Labella, who is currently starting a flying lap, as the Haas goes through the S's now and trying to nail every single apex, every single thousandth matters in Division 1 of EXA. This is one of the closest divisions you can possibly have in league racing, with how close these times can potentially get. If you can find any extra hundredth, that is the crucial point. We're going to see, actually, as Tony Hielta is currently he's currently a 10th up on the provisional pole time currently. Can he go faster as well in the Haas, or can Valentino Labella do anything more? Currently sitting in P7, it is an opportunity just 7 hundredths down on the best time, as Tony goes to P2, just a hundredth, less than a hundredth behind Larry Tolke. As the Alpine remains on top form as things stand, but the Haas currently on pace to at least rival that before an invalidation. Another invalidation ends the opportunity for the Haas. We're going to go back to the next driver across the line. It will be Tuomas Laminen, who has not set a time yet. And is currently invalidated their previous run. Will they be going for another lap this time? No, I don't think they will. They will be recharging their battery. Instead, we've got currently Gabor Santos, as Larry Tolke goes even quicker, a 29.9 from the Alpine, puts himself a bit of a bigger margin ahead of their rivals. But someone who's gone fastest in sector 2 is the McLaren of Gabor Santos, who's currently going is flying around this track. Can they get a better lap time in? Well, they certainly most will, as long as they don't invalidate on the final corner. They certainly don't, and a 30.3 puts himself P7, 4 tenths off in that final run. And very good job from the McLaren. The next driver to cross the line will be the RB of Tom Roberts, who sets a 30.1. The Mercedes of Diego Zorzo goes P7 on the board, I don't think there is much else happening in terms of the drivers next across the line. The Tumos Laminen again invalidated, but he was currently recharging his battery, so I presume so he's going to go recharge and maybe go again on a final run, probably set on a new set of tyres, because we're getting to that stage in the session where the people will be going for their final runs very, very shortly. Everyone doing 3 runs here, or at least 3 different sets of tyres here. But it is a very jam-packed track with 20 drivers currently on the field. We will see as the drivers, as Lucas Rapassa goes fastest with a 29.9, 600ths quicker than the Alpine of Larry Tolke. But Larry Tolke has certainly got the had a couple minutes earlier, and the track evolution may be in the favour of Larry come the end when everything kind of equalises out on the final runs. We'll see whether that makes an entire difference. You've got to also bear in mind these drivers are to the limit, to the 1,000th. This is what matters, and every single any mistake could throw you from P1 down to P14. That is the crucial thing here, is that we've currently got 14 drivers who have, out of the 15 that have set lap times, that are within a 8/10, just under 8, over 8/10 of each other. Half a second between the top 13 once you take out the McLaren in 14th. It's ridiculously close between these drivers, as we now see Luca Rapassa just trundle around the track and get themselves to the pit lane. Can we see the Red Bull take pole position, our championship leader, our multi-time Division 1 champion? Can Luca Rapassa repeat the feat and continue to defend what is a good, already 7-point championship lead? It sounds minimal, but that that is the gaps we're going to be speaking about this season. 7 points. That's the championship lead. We're going to be speaking about that sort of thing the whole season as drivers now come out on track to start their preparation for their final runs. We will see whether that makes a difference. We are now going to see whether track evolution plays effect, or whether track positioning, because you do not want to be seen getting yourself caught in unmitigating circumstances, which end up costing not just yourself but other drivers positions, lap times, potential pole positions. We've seen that with we saw this in Australia. Traffic became a huge factor in the outcome of who would take pole position after just traffic getting in the way of one another, and it could certainly play a factor tonight. It's not an easy circuit, even though it is a very open circuit. The final sector is very tight and twisty, and you've got to make sure you're out the way, especially coming off that penultimate corner, when people will be flying through at a rate of knots, and it could ultimately be the detriment. We will see as the Aston Martin of Campbell Adams, the pole sitter from last time out, can he repeat the feat? We're going to go through to the start finish line, and to the start of the lap through turn 1, cutting across the apex quite nicely before dropping down through to turn 2 to maintain the speed, optimize the line through turn 3, 4, 5 and 6 before it tightens up even more when you go round towards turn 7, dropping down a gear here as you go into turn 8, up the hill into 9. Make sure you don't cut across the line into before going down towards turn 10. Make sure you open up the steering before you keep it as wide as possible, jumping into 11, getting the best exit physically possible down this back straight before you have to wait for the DRS to become enabled for the Aston Martin, and then he'll wait and just wait at 8th gear, DRS enabled, braking now down towards turn 12, jumping around about 180 miles now, potentially more, down towards the braking zone. We're going to sector 3 now through 13 and 14, as it's just now two double left-handers, right-handers after two, and then two double left-handers of 15 and 16. Now around the long Turkey turn 8 sort of corner of 17 and 18. Just got to keep it flat and hope the car sticks. The car will stick. It has got that much downforce. Through turn 19, kept it nice and clean in the white lines before going around the final corner. And up towards the line goes Campbell Adams, 29.8. Sets the fastest time so far by 600 of a second. But is that going to be enough? As here comes the Red Bull of Florian Pavsetti. The Red Bull goes to P6. The next up will be Valentino Labella, who comes across the line, goes P4, 29.9. Next up, the Aston Martin of Liam Stevens, 29.9, puts himself P3. Tony Hielta goes to pole position, 29.7. Excellent lap here on him. Alpine next of Thomas Laminen doesn't only goes to P16. But next up would have been who's next? Got Tamas goes to P9 as everyone comes flying through now as the opportunity for drivers to take pole position. Currently, Jensen Rosen nearly 2 tenths up, goes just under 2 tenths up, P8 for the Williams. Who is next across the line? It will be an Alpine of Larry Tolka. He does not improve as the Alpines do not take pole position here. We're going to see the next driver of Kendon Lutt and Pascal Ranilli cross the line. Pascal Ranilli, P14. Kendon Lutt, P3 from the Sauber. Excellent stuff there. Luca Passa to pole by not even 100 a second. 7 thousandths between the two pole sitters. Excellent stuff from the Red Bull to take pole position as our championship leader. Puts himself in prime position by the end of the session. Excellent stuff from him. And that is pole position for the Red Bull. Great stuff there. And now we go. Oh wait, we need to go to. Now that is session over. We're going to see Luca Rapace take pole position ahead of Tony Elter, Campbell Adams, Kendon Lutt, Liam Stevens, Larry Tolka, Valentino Labella, Jensen Rosen, Florian Pavelzelta, and Tamas Cognelli in rounding out the top 10. That is qualifying time for the race. It is going to be an enthralling race ahead of us. And we will certainly see these drivers battle it out for pole position. And now we calm, the calm before the storm, as every single driver just gets themselves prepared for what is to come. As we just take a moment to breathe as Luca Rapace with an excellent pole position ahead of Tony Hielta. Christ, I'm going to get these wrong. And then Campbell Adams in P3. Kendon Lutt as well. Excellent job of saying with all the drivers here. They've done a lot. They are very, very close. But Luca Rapace once again taking pole position in what is a very, very tight session. And now we begin to get ourselves prepared for the next to come. We're just going to wait now for these drivers to get themselves prepared and get themselves going, and get their strategies correct. Make sure if there's any minor adjustments you can do within Parc Fermé regulations. Is there any opportunity for you to change a bit of your wing, change your differential, maybe change brake bias as well, and whatever else may be legal. But we are going to go to 5 red lights for EXA Division 1 Season 10 at Kota, and it's lights out and away we go. Luca Rapassa does an excellent start there as we go in towards turn 1. He gets a start, stays ahead of Tony, and the Haas has to settle for P2 meanwhile. There's going to be battles between Campbell Adams and Kendon Luck behind. Campbell Adams managing to keep P3 ahead of Kendon Luck, but the we're all going to go line and stern now through the S's as there's a bit of a ghosting car as there's an RB who goes slightly off and gets slightly round, goes off the circuit. That is Tom Roberts, who is going down the order. He manages to recover to stay with the pack, but he's very, very tight. Further back, there is currently a battle between Gabor Santos and Florian Pavanzelta as the Red Bull and the McLaren fought side by side. It is now turned to the Red Bull and the Alpine side by side as Tumos Naminen is fighting off Florian to drop him down to P12. The Red Bull dropping 2 positions off that those couple of corners as we now go down the straight towards the end of sector 2. There's side-by-side action between Liam Stevens and Valiento Labella. There's more battling further back as drivers go off the road to try and defend from each other, but it's not quite worked out for them as we go down through the sector 3 now, through the very tight left and big oversteered there, almost contact between the Aston Martin and the Haas. The Valentino Labella manages to get past P6, Liam Stevens down to P7, but there's going to be more side-by-side action as we go into the penultimate corner as the Aston Martin retakes the position. I wonder if there's an illegal overtake there for the Haas after trying to avoid, but we're going to continue on now to the end of lap 1. Luca Rapassa, though, half a second in the lead as the drivers continue to fight. Gabor Santos is going to try and fight off Tamas. Tamas to the inside to try and defend P9. He certainly does so as Gabor has to settle for P10 temporarily, but he's certainly applying the pressure. We are now going to go continue through sector 1. Luca Rapassa, Tony Hiauta, Campbell Adams and Kendon Luck, Larry Tolke, Liam Stevens, Valentino Labella, Jensen Rosen, Tamas and Gabor Santos are our top 10. We're going to continue through as a driver off that is Lucas Bessner in the Sauber. He's gone well off at this stage. He is very much got back on the road, but he is certainly 5 or so seconds behind. We're going to go back to the battles further down the field. We're going to see these drivers continue to fight as there's a bit of a ghosted car for Campbell Adams at this stage. I wonder if he had any sort of problems as he's dropped a tiny bit, only a tenth or two further back from Tony in the Haas, but the Haas is certainly trying to keep pace with Luca Rapassa. Meanwhile, further back we have got battles between the 2 Williams and the McLaren and RB as Williams of Jensen Rosen manages to hold off his team out of Tamas temporarily. Steg is going to jump ahead of Tom Roberts as he goes into P12. Drivers are now pulling out of the dirty air to try and cool the engine for the time being, but these drivers are not going to sit pretty. They are going to continue to fighting like a dive bomb up the inside from Volteg Steg. He goes up to P11, jumping ahead of Thomas Laminen as Lucas Bezina becomes our first DNF of the session on the end of lap 2 as he after his spin earlier on in the lap. We're now going to go back to the battle for race lead positions. Everyone just can't settle down. Thomas Laminen comes our first driver with a 3-second time penalty as the Alpine continues to squabble away. We're going to go down with Thomas Roberts as the RB is trying to cause the Alpine some sort of dismay. We potentially see a battle emerge between the two. Never mind, I'm going to see Thomas Roberts side by side with Angelo D'Ontencio as D'Ontencio tries to make a move around down the inside. It will turn to the outside for this for the start of sector 3, but he goes diving it up the inside. Bold move there from the Scuderia. Can he make the move stick? Still side by side as we go through towards Turkey turn 8 sort of corner as the Tom Roberts though defends the position for the time being. At this stage though, it is they have lost, still maintaining DRS, but they have lost a tiny bit of time to the drivers in front, and that could potentially play dividends if they don't keep it clean. Drivers, though, moving out of the dirty air, maybe trying to keep their tyres, not just their tyres, but also their engine temps in check. These drivers are racing at high level pacing, and in a 20-car train is certainly not easy to keep those engine temps nice and cool. We're going to continue through towards the end of Sector 1. Luca Rapassa, Tony Hietala, Campbell Adams, Kendon Lutt, Larry Tolke. That's our top 5. As Liam Stevens, Vania Tolabella, Jensen Rosen, Tamas Cockney, and Gabor Santos follow in our top 10. Every single driver within DRS except for the race leader. We now continue down towards the end, the back straight. Everyone's settled in that little bit more now, but the drivers behind are starting to get a bit feisty. They're going to try and find their way up the order if they have the pace, because they don't want to be losing out to this field as Diego Zorzo becomes the first driver to almost lose out on DRS there, as the Mercedes is holding up their team out. Sergio Sobrino, who looks to have a little bit more pace in them at this stage. However, it may have just been a bit of an error there from his team, the Silver Arrow. We're going to continue to see the drivers can just try and play the strategy game here as well. We go to our hard tyre runners of as Liam Stevens on the hards. He's the lead hard runner, while the other 6 hard runners are at the back of the field. The rest of the drivers are medium tyre runners, so we'll see how that plays effect later on for the drivers who are battling. Positions gained so far: 6 positions gained from Angelo De Hortensio, 4 positions gained for Volta Steg, Thomas Laminen as well, also gaining 4 positions, while Gabor Santos is 3 positions gained as well. Sergio Sobrino, 2 positions gained from the Mercedes, but one of them has been also the retirement of Lucas Bessina. We'll see how this race continues on. The drivers just now settling themselves into a groove. You've got to find yourself a groove, but find yourself the pace, and make sure you can just consistently hammer in good lap times, but also don't get stuck behind the drivers who may be holding you up. Meanwhile, there will be a battle brewing between the RB and the Ferrari of Tom Roberts and Angelo De Hortensio. The Hortensio up the inside, dive bomb, pushes Tom Roberts out wide. That might be interesting as Tom Roberts dives it back up the inside, gets a bit of snap oversteer, cut back from Angelo as we go to the outside, switches to the inside, contact again. The Ferrari pushes him off the road again. Tom Roberts will not be happy with that. That's now both Ferraris through as the Italian warfare has caused Tom Roberts to lose out both positions now to both Scuderias, as the Scuderia squad move up to P13 and 14, RB down to P15. It is an intense battle back there. Beast is all for points paying positions. Remember, different points in EXA extends down the order a few positions more, so it is crucial to maintain points paying positions. It does also mean there is still more to fight for. Luca Rapassa going to continue to lead the way ahead of Tony Hietala, Campbell Adams in P3 as Kenton Lutt and Larry Tolke. Everyone is still within DRS range. However, someone who might be about to lose it is Thomas Laminen, currently on the brink. Is right on the edge as Pascal Ranini gets a 3-second time penalty, adds to the second driver to earn himself 3 seconds. Only on lap 6 of 28. They've still got a long race to go, and they don't want to be earning himself another. Thomas Laminen, though, has dropped out of DRS, and this could be crucial here, because here comes Angelo De Hortensio, who could be about to make a move here, diving up the inside into the left-hander, makes the move stick. Pretty easily done. Maybe the hards are starting to come back to the Ferraris, but at the moment they've just lost. They've now got to try and gain half a second to bring themselves back within DRS against 11 medium runners up ahead. Voltec Steg is right now going to be keeping themselves nice and busy, trying to make sure Angelo doesn't get in that DRS, and unfortunately for him, he certainly has. Angelo really pushing the boundaries here. The number 80 car as the Ferrari just make sure
everything works out nicely for him. Luca Rapasolo is still having to defend from Tony Hieltala. While he's had a pretty easy time of things, this gap has certainly shrunk a little bit. Meanwhile, Pasquale Ranelli jumps ahead of Thomas Laminen into P13 as the Ferrari continues to find themselves climbing up the order, becoming the, well, apart from Liam Stevens, the push forward for the hard tyre running drivers. Liam Stevens done an excellent job, by the way, sitting in P6 on the hards, where the rest around him are on mediums, not losing that much time. I think he's even, I don't know if he's only lost one position by the end of it. He was P7, he's now back up to P6. So he has done an excellent job, and he's only just behind the top 5. So at the moment, this is as the gaps begin to build between the drivers. I say gaps, very small gaps, but it is still a gap nonetheless. We're going to see as that they continue. Tom Roberts is now having to defend from Diego Zorzo in the Mercedes. Get contact there between the two as the Mercedes now begin to fight. Diego Zorzo drops behind Sergio Sobrino after contact with the RB of Tom Roberts, trying to dive up the inside of Florian Pavanzelta, also trying to make the move stick on Diego Zorzo. Couldn't quite do anything there. Scabo Santos becomes the next driver to add a 3-second time penalty to them as Tom Robert comes into the pit lane very early in his stint. Maybe the tyres are just not working out quite for him at this stage. We're going to go back to the race leading fight. Luca Rapassa, Tony Hielta now are still sitting in that window, but Tony's keeping him honest. He is keeping him in line. If there's any mistake from the champion, from Luca Rapassa, from our champion in Division 1 previously, can the Red Bull put themselves in a great position? Fanzelta gets himself a 3-second time penalty. The driver's starting to rack him up. It's very easy to get it round to here. As the Red Bull just tries to make sure they maintain that gap to the cars behind. We get awful camera angle on this game, so we're going to see whether that Haas being stuck in that in that dirty air is going to start affecting them with not just their engine temps as well, but their dirty air. We saw drivers pulling out the slipstream to maintain their engine temps further back. Is that going to become a problem for the Haas, who's sitting currently right within the dirty air window of the Red Bull throughout every single lap of these first 8 laps of the race? We're now on to lap 9, and that Haas may need to start thinking of trying to get by if they possibly can. But Luca Rapassa is putting on an excellent amount of pace right now. Sergio Sobrino says the fastest lap of the race. We continue on now. We continue on now through the rest of Sector 1 and start of Sector 2. Can the Red Bull of Luca Rapassa just continue to do what they've been doing? Adjo Tencio gets a 3-second time penalty. Is going to be starting to fight Gabor Santos for P10. And jumps up the inside and does an excellent move there. Moves up another position to get into the top 10 now. We're going to see battles brewing between drivers behind as they just continue to try and fight each other. Meanwhile, Pascal Ranelli is going to cause a dive bomb up the inside of Voltec Steg. Gets up the inside to P12. The Ferraris are certainly on the move right now, and it could certainly be the opportunity for these drivers to put themselves in a good position for when their medium tyre stint comes around, because they've got to try and make sure they get as far up the order as possible while the mediums on the current drivers with that current tyre on don't get an advantage of the undercut on the Haas later on, as Tony Hielta and Kendon Lutt, as a first batch of drivers come into the pit lane for a set of, I believe, it'll be either a 2-stop or a 1-stop. I believe if they go into hards, it might as well be a one. It could very well be a 1-stop. as we now go through as mediums for Campbell Adams, or hard, sorry, for the drivers as they all come out on hard, potentially looking to try and get us fairly into this race. And now see Luca Rapace now with a 6/10 lead as Tony Hilton. I thought it was him coming to the pits. It wasn't. It was Campbell Adams and Kendon Luck behind. Tony Hilton looks to try and keep himself within the target window, but he's also now got a gap behind, so he can purely focus on Luca Rapace and maintaining gap to him. Meanwhile, Liam Stevens on the hard tyres moves himself up to P3. And now the Aston Martin does an excellent job of keeping himself at pace and putting himself in a fantastic position. Meanwhile, Angelo D'Ortenzio moves up to P5 ahead of Tamas Kennedy, so as well as Pascal Ranelli moves up. Is now up to P7. Voltes Steg is dropped down to P9 after losing out to Sergio Sobrino. The hard tyre runners are certainly coming back. As now we go through towards the end of the pit window for some drivers. They all come into the pit lane. They are going to start to maintain their pace now for the hard runners. They've got to try and make sure their hard survivors till their pit window, not over pushing. Now they've got out the dirty air because they know they're going to lose out time in an undercut scenario. However, it certainly could lose them even more time if they overcook the tyres. But at the moment, we currently have all but the top 7 who have pitted. As the Alexi Covero gets a 3-second time penalty. 4 of the 7 drivers who haven't pitted have got time penalties, which is crucial here because they cannot afford to keep whacking them up before the first half of the race is done. And at the moment, these drivers have got just a bit of breathing space, but for how long? Because at the end of the day, they've got to make sure they maintain pace. They cannot lose focus of what is at stake here, and what they could end up losing out on, as Luca Rapace and Tony Hilton are both within a couple tenths of each other, even closer than what they were before the end of the first stint. However, it could absolutely turn sideways for any of these drivers as they go through towards the end of lap 11, sorry, to start lap 12. The Red Bull is just maintaining the group behind him, but for how long? Because if you look at the gap to leader, yes, it's 15 seconds to Liam Stevens. You've got to try and shrink that as much as possible, because if there is an opportunity for these drivers to come back later on a different set of tyres with a different rubber as the offset occurs, as Kendon up the inside of Tony Hilton, as the Sauber tries to make the move stick on the Haas, we cannot quite do it at this moment, as the Sauber continues to hound and is starting to apply a bit more pressure to the Haas, who hasn't been able to get past Luca Rapace at this stage. And at the moment, Luca Rapace just being able to hold steady for a brief moment as the field is at its most spread out at the moment. Bear in mind that is 25 seconds across a whole field of 19 runners at the moment, so it is very, very close, considering there is still pit stops yet to be made. We're now going to go to look maybe for a move from further back. No, we can't quite do anything yet, and they just having to sit behind that little bit longer and just wait, and they can't do anything. It is very difficult in this game due to the dirty air, and it is not like F1 24 where you could just literally pass on every single lap and there'll be chaos at every single opportunity. It is you've got to strategize, make sure your tyres are ready, your ERS is ready, make sure you've got enough engine temperature so when you do push you don't overcook anything. And it is a quite substantial task to try and get past the driver, particularly at circuits where there is a ton of areas where dirty air can catch you out, particularly in so many different ways as well. We're now on lap 13 or 28. Luca Rapace continues to keep Tony Hill-Taylor behind the top 7, still yet to pit as we are reaching the halfway point of the race. At the moment, Liam Stevens leads the way by just under 2 seconds to Angelo D'Atoncio and Pascal Ranilli. Sergio Sobrino and Diego Sorzo in the Mercedes 4P5. Florian Pavzettola in P6. Alexis Convero in P7, while Luca Rapassa leads the field of the drivers who have made a pit stop at the moment. He's done an excellent job so far of just maintaining position over Tony Hilda, who has been just kind of making sure that they don't overcook anything at this stage. However, we will see a move further back from Tamas Cockney on Gabo Santos as the Williams moves him way back up to P15, while the McLaren drops down to P16 and has Tom Roberts for company as well. These three trying to move themselves towards Jensen Rosen and Valentino Labella at the moment, and the Williams is making sure they have the opportunity to continue their charge to make sure they can get some good points on here today. That is the crucial thing, is in the constructors. If you guys need to make sure you need to score consistent points throughout the season, because consistency is key. Gabo Santos drops down to P17. Tom Roberts moves up to P16, as we saw in the background of shot. Tom Roberts seems to be a bit more comfortable on the set of cards he's on now in comparison to the mediums he was on earlier in the race. We've got Luca Rapassa, who might have to get to defend him again, but he's only a 3/10 gap between Tony Hilda and Luca Rapassa. Luca Rapassa looks to take the opportunity to try and bring himself into the potential race leading position once all the pit stops are done. No, he doesn't. He just sits behind that a little bit longer, doesn't want to go for the move. Meanwhile, someone who is going for the move is Valentino Labella. Moves past Jensen Rosen up the inside on DRS, makes the move stick and completes that, and the day is done. Valentino Labella P13 now, but if drivers get the pit further up the field, it could still all work out for these drivers. They can put themselves in high points paying positions later on. Also, if they manage their tyres correctly, that could be a defining factor as well. We're going to see as we go up towards the front of the field now, Liam Stevens has got a bit of company. We're from the two Scuderias. We're going to see that Angelo D'Atencio and Pascal Ranilli trying to push forward as Gabo Santos becomes our second retirement as he retires in the pit lane, unfortunately for him. We continue on through Liam Stevens. Liam Stevens now got some DRS to contend with. He's got to do a bit of battling with the Ferraris, who have not been shy to making some overtakes. As you go off the exit of the corner, Liam Stevens, frustrated with the car, he is not happy with how this car's handling, because here comes the Scuderia, he flies by. I see he takes a bit of a troll there on Liam Stevens, as after his frustration, Angelo D'Atencio makes a little path back at him. Oh well, Angelo D'Atencio takes the lead on a race provisionally. Well, Liam Stevens, who had been done an excellent job so far, is moved down to P2. Meanwhile, Luca Rapassa is up to P7, moving ahead of Alexis Corvero into who drops down to P8, potentially P9, up the inside, goes the Haas, who moves into P8, who's now got Florian Pavzelta in P7 in front of him, because the Red Bulls have done the old switcheroo as they come across each other in the crossover period between the tyres. Now, can Tony Hill-Taylor get back by the Red Bull very quickly so he can get towards Lucas Rapassa, and before allowing Luca Rapassa to take a second victory of the season, and well, not easily at least, as a couple of drivers get a couple of time penalties. Up the inside goes Tony Hill-Taylor as the Haas moves to P7, now right behind Luca Rapassa, has still got DRS temporarily. However, Luca Rapassa is going to try and get by the Mercedes, who is just in in front of him, but he's going to be stuck behind through the whole S's, and this could be an absolute travesty for the Red Bull, who's trying to build a gap over their rival, use the opportunity of traffic to try and build that gap, and it just has not worked out for him. He's caught the cars at the wrong time, and that has allowed the Haas to get into position where he could potentially make a move, or at least keep with him throughout the rest of the race. And now Diego also is going to try and defend, but he can't do anything. DRS for Luca Rapassa allows him by. DRS for Tony Hieltala as he goes by for P6, and that drops the Mercedes down the positions. Meanwhile, Kendon Lutt moves up to P8, who's side now side by side with Florian Pamselta. And at the moment, Papazelta is trying to make sure he tries to stop these drivers from going by. Campbell Adams moves up the P10, jumping ahead of Lexi Covero as the Aston Martin is trying to find a way through. Traffic has really spiced up this race now, and it's really starting to build gaps and trying to sort drivers and trying to make sure as they try and fight through this field, can they stick in that DRS if they're behind Luca Rapassa? If you're Luca Rapassa, can you break that DRS? Someone who the top two at the start of the race might have just broke the DRS though to Kendon Lutt, who goes up the inside of Diego Zorzo and tries to make the move stick but can't quite do it. Diego Zorzo can't quite defend, as Kendon Lutt makes the move stick, and now in the lot, it's but a 1.4 second gap to the cars in front. That's a very difficult gap to catch up in clean air. He's desperate. He's got a 3-second time penalty as well, so he doesn't want to add more to that. He could very well do so. Just the most minor track limits or corner cuts. We're going to continue on. Tom Roberts gains himself a 3-second time penalty, and he's down in P16 at the moment. That's very unfortunate for him. Meanwhile, Liam Stevens is continuing to be a nuisance to Angelo D'Atoncio and Pascal Ranilli in the Ferraris. The Aston Martin maybe using the DRS and splitting the Ferraris, trying to make sure he can maintain the gap, because at the moment these drivers are really moving themselves right to the one-stop window, and at the moment these drivers behind are starting to really reel in the drivers who are on that alternate hard tyre strategy. We now see Pafanzelta going to have to try and defend against Campbell Adams, who is right on the back now. Pafanzelta done a very good job in keeping Kendon Lutt behind for an extra couple of corners more than he needed to. At the moment, he's now broke the DRS between them and Luca Rapassa and Tony Hieltala. As at the moment, these drivers have got everything to fight for, because this could ultimately help them out later on in the race. Campbell Adams around the outside into turn 1. Can he make the move stick? The Red Bull still to the inside. The Aston Martin's given room, but they go through turn 2 now. Can the Aston Martin make the move stick? The Red Bull goes wider to try and maintain momentum, but he can't quite do it as the Aston Martin moves through. As the last possible moment, the Red Bull backs out. Meanwhile, Larry Tolke is trying to make a move now. Jensen Rosen gets a 3-second time penalty. Larry Tolke looks to try and make a move stick here, but can't quite do anything. He's going to use the cutback to try and move his way back by the Pafanzelta to try and keep the DRS, but can't do anything into the hairpin. Off the left-hander now. Can the Alpine use the DRS to fly by? He needs to try and keep within DRS window of Campbell Adams. However, it's going to be very, very difficult to do that at this moment in time. As we now go to the inside, goes to Larry Tolke. Larry Tolke moves to P10. Meanwhile, Sergio Sabrino has lost out both to Luca Rapassa and Tony Hietala. As Hietala moves up to P5, P4 for Luca Rapassa. 9/10 is the gap. Can Luca Rapassa break that DRS? Or will Tony manage to just about keep it? It's very tight as the Ferraris. The first of our top 3 to come into the pit lane, it is Pascal Ranilli who comes into the pits. The top 2 remain out for the following lap. However, it may cause an undercut, and it could prove costly later on if those two start fighting. As Tony Hietala moves, it's dropped out of the DRS window of Luca Rapassa. The Red Bull is now really, really starting to struggle at this stage. well, no, the Haas is really starting to struggle at this stage to keep up with the Red Bull. The Red Bull is really starting to push now, and it's really, really starting to mount a claim and try and put one hand on this race win trophy and push himself further out into the championship lead. Tony Hietala hasn't got quite an answer for him at this stage as the Red Bull pushes and pushes to try and break that gap, but he's got to be careful not to push those tyres too hard earlier at this stage, because he's got to make sure they have enough life for the end of the stint as the drivers now really start to spread out at this moment in time. The Ferrari of Pascal Ranelli came out in P13 as he's now got a very big gap to the drivers up front, but the Angelo D'Ortenzio and Liam Stevens yet to pit, and at the moment with the opportunity to then use their tyre offset of an extra lap, but they've got to make sure they come out ahead of any of the drivers who have just pitted. Bear in mind, Pascal Ranelli in the Ferrari is the highest of the bunch. Here comes Angelo D'Ortenzio, Liam Stevens, our top two into the pit lane. Can they get a good enough stop and get themselves out in front of their of the Ferrari? Luca Rapassa moves back into lead the race. Kendon Lutt has come into the pit lane and retired from the session. Wonder why he's done that. I don't know, but he's come into the pit lane. He's done. He's left, and that is that day done for him. Meanwhile, Luca Rapassa leads the way ahead of Tony Hietala, Campbell Adams, Larry Tolke, Valentina Labella, Jensen Rosen, and then we see Tamas Cockney defending from Pascal Ranelli, who's come out ahead of Angelo D'Ortenzio and Liam Stevens, who is now in P8 and is now their lead of the drivers who have who are on that alternate strategy. Up the inside goes the Ferrari. Can he make the move? Stick to the outside, he'll turn. He'll go wide. He might get a warning play. Might even get a legal overtake. I don't know. The Ferrari makes the move stick. Up the inside, though, goes Angelo D'Ortenzio on Tom Roberts. Can he make that move stick? Not quite there. To get to a snap of oversteer. This is going to Liam Stevens right into this battle. Who's going to use the 6? He's going to use the DRS to try and make that move stick. He's going to try and get past the Ferrari. Can he make it stick? Not quite there. It's not a way through. I do apologise. As Liam Stevens makes his way past Tom Roberts, Angelo D'Ortenzio sticks in P9, and now it's a lot of events happening at the same time. And now he's just about settled down, but for how long? As Angelo D'Ortenzio moves past Thomas Cockney, Liam Stevens stuck behind though. As he go through that long right-hander, can Liam Stevens dive up the inside? He can. He dives up the inside of the Williams, makes the move stick in the penultimate corner. Very unconventional place to make the move stick, but certainly does at that stage and cleanly. The Ferrari now of Pascal Ranelli moves up to P5 ahead of Jensen Rosen. The medium tyre runners are certainly coming back at the drivers in front, but with only 7 laps to go, they've got a massive gap to the Red Bull of Luca Rapassa, Tony Hietala in the Haas, so they might get an opportunity at podium. However, they're going to have to use a lot more pace to get back by, but they've got a lot of clean air now. Campbell Adams with a 3-second tyre penalty to his race time. He's currently in P4, 2.2 seconds ahead of Pascal Ranelli, who in the Ferrari at this stage is trying to fight back into this race lead. 9.4 seconds is the gap. Jensen Rosen is now about to be side by side with that D'Ortenzio. D'Ortenzio moves up to P6. Liam Stevens is the next to try and get past the Williams driver, but the Williams hasn't got much to answer for at this stage. As he goes flying by, does the Aston Martin to P7, and at the moment the drivers on the hard seem like sitting ducks at the moment if they hadn't pulled that gap. We're going to keep an eye on these gaps between the drivers as we're going to go to the tyre window. 10 to 13 laps for the drivers on hards in comparison to fresh mediums. That is a massive tyre delta there, but is the gaps enough for these drivers to catch? 8.8 seconds now for Pascal Ranelli to Luca Rapassa. We're going to keep an eye on that gap between the two. Pascal Ranelli, though, will have his teammate of Angelo D'Ortenzio in his rearview mirrors. He's going to be trying to make a life's work for his Ferrari teammate and try and take the first victory. Liam Stevens up there as well. It is anyone's game at this stage of 7 laps to go. And with 8.5 seconds to gap, it is certainly being closed down. And at the moment, the Ferraris look to be in strong form, being right down the order early on in this race on the hard compound tyres, have completely switched their luck around and have put themselves into a position where they could be fighting for a podium, if not a victory, if they get their buck together. And at the moment, it is very, very difficult to say otherwise. We're going to have to see if the Ferraris begin to fight themselves, or whether they go for it and try and catch Luca Rapassa, who's currently on for his second race victory here in this season. As Pascal Ranelli trying to get himself prepared to get past Campbell Adams, get past Larry Tolke as quickly and swiftly as possible. Because at the moment, this could be an opportunity as he allows his teammate to go by contact between the Ferraris. As that is not what we see if you are the entries at Scuderia, because the Ferraris now have made contact and Liam Stevens is right there with them. Can Liam Stevens make a hassle of himself as Pascal Ranelli moves out the way for Angelo D'Ortenzio? Contact between the two could be costly. Any sort of damage between these two could also end up being time performative and could be costly to against not just Liam Stevens, against Luca Rapassa, against Tony Hertella. Up the inside goes one Aston Martin, up the inside goes one Ferrari. Contact between Pascal Ranelli and Liam Stevens. Liam Stevens moves up to P6, but Angelo D'Ortenzio at the same time moves up past Campbell Adams to get the P4. As at the moment, Campbell Adams is dropped down to P5. He's might have to let his teammate through. Maybe team orders will be at play in the Aston Martin garage. Got Angelo D'Ortenzio is currently up into P4. He's going to have Larry Tolke before he has a clear shot at the top two, but he's got 4.3 to make up to Tony after that, and he's got then 2.7 to make up to Luca Rapassa. That is a very big gap and not much time to do it. And now the Ferraris are going to try, the Ferrari of Angelo D'Ortenzio is going to move into the podium places with the DRS and move past down the back straight and take the final podium spot. Meanwhile, Liam Stevens moves up to P5. However, the battle between him and Pascal Ranelli may be proving costly, because that meant that the Ferrari and the Aston Martin, who are now going side by side this time, as Campbell Adams and Pascal Ranelli trying to fight. Campbell Adams trying to hold up the Ferrari that little bit more, and he just does enough to get Liam Stevens out of DRS of Pascal Ranelli. And that is very crucial in their battle, as Campbell Adams done an excellent job of being a teammate. Ferraris collided, the Aston Martins working well together. Campbell Adams coming into the pit lane, not sure why he comes in, and he retires from the session. Well, I guess if you're not good, I guess he's done everything he needed to do for Liam Stevens, but it would really help out as people come into the pit lane again. And retire Thomas Laminen and Florian Palfacente retire as well. We're now down to 14 drivers in this race. Luca Rapassa, though, leads the way, but that gap is closing. Is he go? But that 6-second penalty for Angelo D'Ortenzio could prove costly, because at the moment it is really, that gap is, even though it's coming down, he'll have to gain 6 seconds on whoever he passes now in order to keep those positions. And with the gap looking at 5.8, that would mean basically 12 seconds in the space of about 4 laps. He's got to make plus do 2 overtakes. Yellow flags is for the people who have retired. That's fine. We continue on. Valentino Bella is going to move past Jensen Rosen as Valentino Bella moves up to P7. The Williams now down in P8, followed by Tamas in P9. Sergio Sobrino rounding out that top 10. Tom Roberts, Voltex Steg going to fight it out. I think as the Tamas Jensen battle and the Williams continues, as the Williams swap places. Tamas moves up to P8, Jensen down to P9. Maybe those hard tyres not so working so well for him at this stage. As we go through the last few laps of this race, Liam Stevens has not been able to get by Larry Tolke quite yet, and has been stuck behind him for about a lap or so now. The Alpine doing an excellent job to get some defending done, trying to hold on to P4, and crucially, due to penalties, has a 3-second no penalties comparison to Liam Stevens and Pascal Ranelli for now. Thank God we say for now, because Larry Tolke at the moment looks to try and hold on to people via penalties, if not by track position, as the drivers on mediums begin to burn through their tyres and they start to age as well. Angelo D'Ortenzio now about to get into the 1 second window on Tony Hiotella. Meanwhile, Larry Stevens is about to lose position to Larry Tolka is about to lose position to Liam Stevens. Liam Stevens up to P4. He's still within the 3 second window of Angelo D'Ortenzio. Could he potentially steal the final podium spot? On penalties, could Larry Tolke still maintain that final podium spot on penalties? Is still all to play for. With just 3 laps to go by the end of this one, it could ultimately pay dividends. And now we go through towards lap 26, and Luca Rapassa at this stage is just manages to hit the race perfectly. 4 seconds is his gap to Tony Hiotella. Meanwhile, Tony Hiotella is going to have to do a bit of defending against Angelo D'Ortenzio. D'Ortenzio is tried to fight back through this field. He's currently gained 17 positions since he started the race start, as that's an excellent job from him. 8 positions gained from Pascal Neely, 9 positions gained from Sergio Sabrino. Excellent stuff from some of the drivers as they fight their way through the field as the race winds down with 3 laps to go. At the moment, Luca Rapassa has done an excellent job, but here comes Angelo D'Ortenzio, DRS enabled for the Scuderia to pass Tony Hiotella. He's got to find 6 seconds over the Haas in the next 2 1/3 laps, really. And at the moment, it is a very tall ask to do. He's got to try and find a couple seconds as well to Liam Stevens and Larry Tolke at the moment. And this 6 second penalty could prove very, very costly for Angelo D'Ortenzio. Tony Hiotella will continue on in P3. However, it's not over between him and them yet. Meanwhile, Sergio Sabrino, Jenson Rosen side by side as we go round the right hand. Jenson Rosen, Sergio Sabrino going to continue fighting. Sergio Sabrino maybe looking to get past into the Panama corner, sends Jenson Rosen wide, moves into P9. However, contact was very much transparent there as we go through those couple corners, and now we're on to lap 27, a penultimate lap for these drivers. And up the inside, as around the outside goes Jenson Rosen, trying to make a mount of attack against him, as Tony Hiotella gets a 3 second time penalty. That is crucial to the end of this race. With only 2 laps to go, he's now got to try and stick it within 3 seconds of Angelo D'Ortenzio. With only 2.2 to spare on old hard tyres compared to the mediums. Yes, they are still aging themselves, but those tyres may still have a bit more grip in them as well, as Sergio Sabrino has proven with Jenson Rosen as we go through the S's. Meanwhile, Liam Stevens may be at the back end of that, unfortunately, because his tyres aren't favouring as well in comparison to his rivals. Meanwhile, Tamas moves up ahead of Valentino Labella to P7 as Jenson Rosen moves ahead of Sergio Sabrino. These drivers are continuing to fight ever so much more battle between the two, contact between the Mercedes and the Williams, as the Mercedes tries to force their way by. Jenson Rosen keeps his moves back into P9, but the tyres certainly are starting to pivot towards a more equal pegging between the drivers. And at this moment in time, it looks like the drivers who've gone to the mediums, if they have penalties, could be in a bit of trouble here. Sergio Sabrino picks up a penalty himself, and now I think that puts him on 6 seconds of penalty. It does, and that is very, very crucial as we head on to the final lap of the race, while Jenson has 3. And now we're going to go to the battle for fourth. At the moment, Liam Stevens, he's got a 4.5 tenth gap over Larry Tolke, who doesn't have a penalty at this stage, same as Luca Rapassa. Both drivers done an excellent job, but Angelo D'Ortenzio certainly has a penalty and could end up losing not just 1, maybe 2 positions by the end of this, maybe even 3 positions by the end of this race. As the that 6-7 penalty will be costly in his early hunt for the championship. Luca Rapassa, though, 2.1 seconds out in front, has done everything right. That's the Red Bull. He comes around the final couple of corners to take victory here in Kota. His second victory of the season. What an excellent drive by the Red Bull. This is an astonishing job in a league so close, in a division so close. Luca Rapassa takes victory here in Kota for round 3. Tony Hiatella takes P2. While Larry Tolke takes the final podium spot on penalties. Andrew D'Ortenzio moves to drops to P4. Liam Stevens down to P5. Pascal Ranilli is in P6. Tam Hassan keeps P7 ahead of Valentino Labella in P8. Juicen Rosso finished P9, but Diego Zorzo moves to P9 on penalties, while Juicen Rosso moves now to the top 10. Excellent race from these drivers and solid stuff from everyone involved. And yeah, very good job from these drivers. And that is the race. Luca Rapassa takes his second victory of the season and extends his championship lead. An excellent job by him. That's that. And then Luca Rapassa takes victory ahead of Tony Hiatella, Larry Tolke, Angelo D'Ortenzio, Liam Stevens, Pascal Granilli, Tamas Cockney, Valentino Labella, Diego Zorzo, and Jensen Rosen round out the top 10. So Joe Sabrino takes fastest lap of 33.3. 33.5, sorry. And P11, Tom Roberts, Voltec Steg, Alexi Corvero, Florent Pavelzelta, Alex Corvero rounds out the finish as well. Florian Pavelzelta, Thomas Laminen, Campbell Adams, Caden Lutt, Gabor Santos, and Lucas Bezina all did not finish. That is the circuit US Grand Prix for Division 1. We will be back I think, in 2 weeks' time now for the Monaco Grand Prix on the 19th of November. Then followed by Austria on the 26th, Canada on the 3rd, Britain on the 10th, and then Mexico on the 17th for a 5-round sprint before the Christmas break for a couple of weeks. Then in January, we are back on the 7th in Saudi Arabia, for then Brazil on the 14th, and then Abu Dhabi on the 21st. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to join us for the remaining 8 rounds of the season. We can't wait.